Hi everybody, it's Crystal. Welcome to my channel, Bagoday Crochet, where we talk about everything that is yarn and crochet related. So today I have a tutorial for you. Now this is actually a throw blanket, but you can use this stitch for whatever you want. Because I'm going to give you the multiple of it. And you can make yourself a wrap, you can make yourself a top, you can make yourself a dress, you can make yourself a scarf, you can make yourself whatever your heart desires. It doesn't have to be this throw here. But I'm going to teach you how to make the stitch and all the yarn needed for this throw, the size of it and everything. But you take whatever I teach you and you do with it as you please. I only lay it out. And then you play it out. And whenever you make, you show me on my Facebook page. Alright? Link to that below in the description box. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more. Alright. So, this is the simple ripple. The simple ripple. It's beautiful. And it is what it is. It is extremely simple ripple style blanket. So many color combos that you could use. You could do it all solid if you wanted. Or you could do every single row a different color. Now, this particular blanket measures about 66 inches wide and about 70 inches tall. You can make yours bigger or smaller, or like I said, use this stitch for something else. And this particular blanket here has 5 different colors in it. As you can see, black, purple, blue, green, and yellow. So it's a 5-color sequence, and then it's repeated all the way through. Alright, but you do yours as you like. So, as you can see, it's very simple. It's just pretty much double crochets. There is a double crochet 2 together, which if you don't know how to do that, I'll show you how to do it. And we're working in the back loops here and stuff. So, that's what gives it that, 3D ripple effect. It's quite a beautiful blanket. I just don't have a lot of room here to show it to you. My desk is super small. I need a bigger room. But yes, so the edges are not bordered or anything, but they're just fine. I'm going to go ahead and set this blanket to the side. It's nice and soft though, and we'll talk about the yarn that was used for that blanket. Now remember, you don't have to use the yarn that I use. You can use whatever yarn you want to use, but for that particular blanket, as I mentioned, it was done in 5 different colors. And it was made with a Bernat Super Value, which is a 100% acrylic yarn, medium weight number 4, Aran weight yarn, or 10 ply. Okay, there are 440 yards per ball. So there were 5 colors used, and it took a whole ball and just a little bit of another of 5 colors. So in total, you're going to need about 2,300 yards of a 4-weight yarn to complete the project in the size that you see there, that I said. The colors that were used for this particular blanket, you see there is yellow, and then we have a forest green, denim heather. I would have pegged that for a country blue myself. And then we have mulberry, which is that purple, and then we have a dark gray. But remember, you can use whatever colors that you'd like. And I'll be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Okay, so this ripple is done in a multiple of 16 plus 3, which means that you chain in 16, depending on what you're making. For as big as you need it to be, and then you add 3 more to your base chain. So 16 plus 3. Now, since it is a ripple, it will shrink a bit, but this type of ripple is not going to shrink much. Maybe about 3 inches, 3 to 4 inches, probably max, I would say. But you want to follow along with me. You want to start off with a chain of 195 stitches. 192 is my multiple of 16 plus 3 equals 195. All right, so once you got your chain of 195, we will begin row 1. And we are going to start off with a double crochet in the 4th chain from our hook. So we don't count the one that's on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we yarn over and go into that 4th chain right there. Oops. And do a double crochet. Now we have to remember this little chain here on the end. He counts as a stitch, all right? He's going to count as a stitch. And now we're going to start the repeat of row 1. We're going to put a double crochet into each of the next 5 chains. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is 5. So we just did 5 in a row. Now we're going to do a double crochet 2 together 2 times. So a double crochet 2 together is worked over 2 stitches. All right, so we're going to yarn over and we're going to go into the next stitch and we're going to draw up a loop and we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Now with these 2 loops that are on our hook still, we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook again, and that will leave us with three loops that remain. We're going to yarn over and go through all 3 like that. So that was a double crochet 2 together. It took 2 stitches and turned it into 1. Now we need to do that again because we had to do it twice. So remember, it's worked over 2 stitches. So we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop. Again, we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and that will leave us 3 loops. So we're going to yarn over and go through all 3. So that was another double crochet 2 together. So we got our 2 double crochet 2 togethers. Now we're going to do a double crochet again into the next 5 stitches. There's 1, there's 2, and 3, 4, and there's 5. Now what we're going to do is we are going to work 2 double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. So this stitch is going to get 2 doubles and this stitch is going to get 2 doubles. All right, so we're going to go to the next stitch right here and we're going to put 2 double crochets into the same stitch. So there's 1 and then the next one, same stitch, we put 2. And then again, we have to do it into the next stitch. So we're going to go into it. We're going to put 1 double. And in the same stitch, we're going to put 2 or another double for a total of 2 doubles into that stitch. And that will end the repeat of row 1. So we will start it again by putting a double crochet into the next 5 stitches. And then we would do our 2 double crochet 2 togethers. And then we do a double crochet into the next 5 stitches. And then we would do 2 stitches that each had 2 double crochets in them. And then we would go back and repeat it again. Double crochet into the next 5. Double crochet 2 together over, or 2 times, a double crochet into the next 5, and then 2 doubles into each of the next 2 stitches, and then you would just keep repeating that until you get to the last stitch of your row. Alright, so when you make it to the last stitch of your row, you should have been able to finish, you'll have 2 double crochet 2 togethers and then 5 double crochets, and you'll have 1 stitch left. Go ahead and end by putting 2 double crochets into that last stitch. I'm going to switch colors right here though after my last stitch. So there's 1 double, and in the next one we're going to do another double in the same stitch, but here's where I'm going to switch colors. So I'm going to go back in here to put my second double. I'm going to yarn up, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. And what I'm going to do is bring my new color in. You don't have to switch colors. You can switch colors like whenever you want, or like I said, you can make the whole thing solid. Doesn't matter. But if you want to switch, you pull your new color through like that. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to take the tail of my new yarn and then the end of the yarn that I was just using. I'm going to tie a little knot so it doesn't slip away. And then I'm going to clip off that other color. And that would end row 1. And now we can start row 2. Alrighty. Got a new color on. Okay. So from here on out, we're always going to be working in the back loops. Alright? Every row from here on out, we're going to be working in the back loops. So what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work. Now when you take a look at the very first stitch here, the one closest to you is the front loop, because you see how the loop, your loop has 2 stitches here. The one closest to you is the front, and the one furthest away is the back. We're always, every stitch from here on out, going to be only be working in that back loop. That's what's going to give it that ridge. All right. So for row 2, working in the back loops, we're going to put 2 double crochets into that very first stitch, back loop only. So there's 1. Oops. And there is 2. Now we're going to start the repeat of row 2. We're going to put a double crochet into the next 5 stitches. Remember, back loop only. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we have to do double crochet 2 together twice, just like the previous row. So remember, it's worked over 2 stitches, so we're going to go into the back loop of the next stitch and draw up a loop and yarn over and go through the first 2, and then we're going to yarn over again and go into the back loop of the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, 3 loops remain, yarn over and go through all 3. And now we have to do that again, so it's worked over these 2 stitches, yarn over and go into the back loop of the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go into the back loop of the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 3. So now you've done your 2 double crochet 2 togethers. Now we're going to do a double crochet again into the next 5 stitches. 1, oops, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now in the next 2 stitches we're going to put 2 double crochets into each of them, back loop only. So in the next stitch I'm going to put 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and the next stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and then we're going to repeat that. It's the exact same repeat as the previous row. So we're just doing what we did on the previous row again until we get to the last stitch of our row. All right, I'm coming to the end of row 2, and it's the same as row 1. We're going to have 1 stitch left here, and it's going to be that chain that I talked about in the beginning. I said that it counted as a stitch. We're going to put 2 double crochets into that stitch. All right, it doesn't necessarily have to be the back loop of that stitch because it's the chain, but just 2 double crochets into that, and that will end row 2. Now row 3 is the repeat row. It's actually the same thing that we just did, except for, you know, we're not going to be ending in a turn chain or anything, but what I'm going to keep this same color. Following the blanket that you just saw, the first row is just 1 color, and after that the color is changed every two rows. All right, that is if you want to do it like that blanket, but you know, you do yours however you want. But row 3 is just the same thing. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. Now working in the back loop only, remember it's always the back loop, we're going to go into this very first stitch and we're going to work 2 double crochets into that very first stitch. That first one's kind of weird. All right, there's 1 and there's 2. Now we're going to start the repeat. We're going to put a double crochet into the next 5. Remember, only working in the back loops. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Double crochet 2 together 2 times. So we're going to yarn over and go into the back loop of the next stitch, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. And we're going to yarn over and go into the back loop of the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. You should have 3 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. And we need to do that again, so we're going to yarn over and go into the back loop of the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go into the back loop of the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through the remaining 3. Again, it's the same as the previous rows. Double crochet into the next 5, back loop only. There's 1, sorry, my yarn is stuck. There's 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. And then we're going to put 2 double crochets in each of the next 2 stitches, back loop only. So 2 doubles in this stitch. There's 1 and 2, and then 2 doubles into the next. Oh, back loop only. And again, we would just start repeating again, just like we did on the previous rows. Double crochet in the next 5, and then double crochet 2 together twice, double crochet in the next 5, and then you're back to 2 stitches with 2 double crochets in them. And you want to repeat that until you get to the last stitch of your row. Alright, when you make it to the last stitch of row 3, you do want to work in the back loop from now on of your last stitch, and you put 2 double crochets in it. And that is it. You just keep repeating row 3, and as you can see, when you do the double crochet 2 togethers, that makes your valley, and when you do the 2 sets of 2 doubles, that makes your peak. It's a very slight wave or ripple, but it's very pretty because you're working in the back loops, gives it a nice 3-dimensional effect. So you would just keep repeating row 3 until you, if you want to do it like me, until you reach approximately 70 inches, or as big as you want it to be. And like I said, the picture or the blanket you see here, bring it over here, the color was changed every 2, it's upside down, I'm sorry, every 2 rows. So I think it's upside down, I don't know, I can't tell. So as you can see, it was, you know, 2 rows of green. Goodness gracious. All right. 2 rows of black, 2 rows of purple, 2 rows of blue, 2 rows of green, 2 rows of yellow. And then that sequence repeated. And then it ended with this 1 row of the same color that I started in. 1 row. But you do yours however you like. It's your blanket, not mine. Do it to your likings. I do mine to my likings, and then everybody's happy. Or, like I said, you make something else out of this. But remember, whatever you make, I want to see a pic of it. So, if you look down in the description box, you should see a link to my Instagram and my Facebook. I'm more active on my Facebook than I am on my Instagram. Come on there. It's a real friendly place. Show me a picture of what you make with this, whether it be this blanket or maybe you make a top or whatever. I'd really like to see it. See your color choices. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that, please. It really helped me out a lot. It's free to subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tutorials. All free. Anything you could ever want to make. Multiples of them. Alright? Give me a like if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on my next video. Okay. Bye, guys.